Chapter 4.
The metallic taste of fear hung in the air at First National, though only I could sense it. Marble floors echoed with footsteps as the afternoon crowd moved through their routines, invisible strings pulling them through another ordinary day. A businessman checked his Rolex. A mother hushed her crying toddler. A teller called, "Next in line," over the soft murmur of voices. I watched their faces, these strangers marked for death, and felt nothing. Not yet. The weight of the AK-47 pressed against my ribs beneath my trench coat, a cold reminder of what was coming. 20 more seconds of normal life for them. 20 more seconds before their world ended. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Time slowed, crystallized, then shattered. I pulled the rifle free in one fluid motion, the sound of the first burst drowning out the initial screams. Bodies dropped like puppets with cut strings, crimson blooming across business suits and summer dresses. The lucky ones died instantly. The others, their cries melted into the chaos of gunfire and shattering glass. Children fell beside parents. Lovers died reaching for each other. The marble floor ran red. "Get the money, Curtis." My voice sounded distant, mechanical, even to my own ears. Curtis vaulted the counter, his boots crunching over broken glass. He didn't hesitate, just started executing bank employees systematically, even the ones already down. Dead or dying, it didn't matter to him. That was Curtis's way. No witnesses meant no loose ends. The front doors exploded inward on a wave of black armor and rifle barrels. SWAT. I was still standing, exposed, an easy target in the middle of my own slaughterhouse. The first round hit like a sledgehammer, punching through me with liquid fire. But it was the second bullet that changed everything. Heat bloomed in my chest. Not pain, but something else, something ancient. The bank's fluorescent lights stretched into halos, bleeding at the edges of my vision. My trigger finger went slack. I felt myself falling, but the cold floor never came. Instead, my body hung suspended, drifting up like smoke from a snuffed candle. Below me, my other self lay sprawled, blood pooling black against white marble. Time stretched like taffy. Curtis's gunfire came in slow pulses now, each muzzle flash frozen like a photograph. The hostages' screams reached me through water, distant and distorted. I tried to move, to aim, to do anything, but I was just a witness now, watching the massacre unfold from above like some twisted stage play. My vision tunneled, drawn inexorably toward Curtis. He had taken cover behind a counter, pressing his pistol against a white woman's temple. Penny. The name came to me like a half-remembered song. Something about her face triggered fragments of memory. Other dreams, other times, other versions of her I'd somehow known before. The voice cut through everything, clear as a bell.
Protect the girl.
"Why?" I screamed into the void. "Why her?" But like always, the voice offered no answers. The lights inside the bank intensified, becoming a physical force. Everything washed out in brilliant white until I couldn't see, couldn't think. My skin blistered and smoked under the assault. I thrashed against invisible restraints as the burning light consumed me. The pain built past bearing until finally, mercifully, darkness took me. My eyes snapped open to darkness, heart hammering against my ribs. Sweat had soaked through my sheets, the fabric twisted around me like restraints. For a moment I lay frozen, letting reality seep back in. The digital clock's red numbers cut through the dark, 3:47 a.m. Only 2 hours since I'd fallen asleep, but the dream had left me raw, exposed. These visions hadn't haunted me for months. The timing wasn't lost on me, not after today's events. I pushed myself up, trying to shake off the lingering images. Blood on marble, Curtis's dead eyes, Penny's face, especially Penny's face. That's when it hit me. The recognition I'd been fighting since the moment we'd grabbed her. She wasn't just another victim. She'd been there before, in dozens of dreams over the years. Sometimes older, sometimes barely more than a child, but always her, always with some message, some warning wrapped in violence and death that left me shaken for days. The sound of movement downstairs pulled me from my thoughts. Curtis would be with her now, down in his basement lair. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, needing something to steady my nerves. Curtis appeared like a ghost, naked and grinning, condensation dripping from the bottles in his hands.
Here.
He tossed me one.
Looks like you could use it.
I popped the cap, took a long pull, kept my voice casual. Hey man, what are you planning to do with that woman? Curtis's grin turned ugly.
What the fuck you think, nigga? Have my fun, then make her disappear. You know how I do.
He grabbed more beers, probably for what he called his girl. Yeah, I knew exactly how he did. The Food for Less parking lot girl flashed through my mind. She'd had a name, a family, a life, until Curtis decided otherwise. I studied him through half-lidded eyes, thinking what an absolute waste of human skin he was. Kidnapping, rape, murder, no profit, just pain. Pure stupidity that would land him in prison, or worse.
This ain't about money,
he continued, heading for the basement door. He paused, threw me a look over his shoulder.
If you want some of that white pussy, just say so. If not, stay the fuck out my business.
The door closed behind him with a soft click. I finished my beer, grabbed another. The voice from my dream echoed in my head. Protect the girl. For once the message was clear. I had a plan forming. Rough, dangerous, but better than nothing. Time to see if I could pull it off. The basement steps creaked under my feet as I descended. The scene that greeted me was pure Curtis, trying to turn trauma into theater. Penny was dancing, her movements mechanical, while Curtis sprawled on the bed watching her with predator's eyes. They both froze when they saw me.
What's up, nigga? Changed your mind?
Curtis's voice carried that dangerous edge I knew too well. I moved closer, positioning myself near the bed. The room reeked of fear and violence masked as sex. Penny's hair was tangled, her skin flushed and marked. Her eyes met mine, carrying a mixture of terror and desperate hope. Maybe I did, I said, keeping my voice neutral. I tossed a sheet toward Curtis. But cover your ass up first. Damn. Curtis laughed, but I kept my attention on Penny. She was reading the room, smart enough to know something was shifting. The fake smile she'd been wearing for Curtis had vanished, replaced by wariness.
Tell you what,
Curtis said, pulling on his clothes.
You can have the pussy, but that mouth is mine. She's too small for me down there anyway.
I forced a laugh. After you? Nah. But why don't you make a beer run? I'll keep an eye on things. Curtis was already reaching for his keys. Some people might have been suspicious of how eager I was to be alone with his victim, but Curtis's ego wouldn't let him imagine anyone would dare cross him.
Just don't hurt her,
he warned, his voice dropping to that place that reminded me he wasn't just cruel, he was broken.
I'm the only one who gets to hurt her. You dig, Reverend?
I started undressing, playing my part. Just want some pussy, man. I ain't crazy like you. His eyes flashed at the word crazy. I'd forgotten how that word triggered him, memories of the mental hospital where they'd broken him as a kid. He stalked over to Penny, grabbed her breast hard enough to leave marks, a display of ownership, of power. Penny didn't cry out, but I saw her eyes water.
Yeah, guess I am into pain, huh?
He headed for the stairs, pausing at the top.
She gets aggressive if you don't control her. Make her act up, and she'll pay when I get back.
The door closed. I listened for his footsteps, the garage door, the car engine. Only when I was sure he was gone did I turn to Penny. She'd shifted closer, her body language changing from fearful to something else, something that made me uneasy. I moved my attention to Penny, who was now sitting beside me, looking suddenly relaxed. She sure is a tiny woman, all right. No more than 5 feet, around 100 pounds. Her hair a sandy blonde, long and wavy. It probably reached down her back almost to her waistline. Her body is in great shape, toned and perfectly tanned. Her breast was natural, and they fit her frame perfectly, as did her ass. I looked at her face. Aside from the fear and stress which showed, I could also see beautiful, hypnotizing sky blue eyes, which sat below freshly shaped eyebrows, smooth, clear, healthy skin, and perfectly straight white teeth. I was looking at one of the best the white race could offer. But to me, she was just another trashy white woman. Ever since the white man exposed their true colors to me, I've had nothing to do with any white man or their white women. I had nearly died fighting in their war, and they had the audacity to put me in prison. And for what reason? Shooting the enemy. I guess I was supposed to let him shoot me first? Yeah, right. Reminiscing about the military must have shown something in my facial expression, because Penny started getting uncomfortable with me staring at her nakedness. I could tell she was trying to figure out what to do next, and I'm sure Curtis's last threat was playing inside her mind. Out of nowhere, she reached out and started feeling between my legs. I pushed her hand away fast like she had cooties or something. She looked surprised. "You don't have to do that," I said softly. I was whispering because I wasn't sure if Curtis was standing at the door listening or not, but she must have thought I was trying to sound sexy or something. She looked at me as if trying to figure me out. Then she said,
"Ooh, I see what you want."
She got on her knees in front of me and started grabbing for my jimmy again. I stood up to move away quickly from her prying hands, but by standing up, she was able to hook her fingers into the elastic of my sweatpants and pull the front down, exposing my jimmy. Before she could grab hold of it, I was able to put it back where it belongs. She looked at me, totally confused, and we locked eyes for a few moments. The sound of the garage door opened, then seconds later, it lets back down. Curtis had finally left the house. Now I can stop the charades and get down to real business. And not the business the girl was anticipating. Penny reached for my jimmy again. I needed to slow her roll. "Hold on," I said as I slapped at her hands. She looked at me with glossy eyes and said,
"I don't want that monster beating me up again. Just let me do this and get it over, okay?"
That was the first time I had heard her speak since we were counting the money. She had lost that strong cockiness from before, now sounding mentally worn down. I sat down on the bed and patted the spot beside me. Penny sat next to me, at a total loss as to what was going on. "I'm not going to abuse you, woman. I'm going to help you get out of here." Penny's eyes brightened. I had her full attention now. I continued, "I can't do anything until late tonight. That is, if we're lucky. At worst, a few days." She started to interrupt, but I kept saying what needed to be said. "Just don't do anything that will piss Curtis off and you'll be fine." Saying that out loud sounded really ridiculous. Curtis didn't need a reason to be pissed off. He stayed pissed off. Anyway, it was the best I could come up with. I continued, "I know you hate it, but just play his game. All he really wants is sex. Just look at it like acting. That's all." As bad as it sounded, my voice and heart were very sincere. I'm a robber, not some piece of shit that doesn't give a damn about others, especially the weak. Her eyes grew wide from surprise when I referred to her situation as acting. I wasn't trying to offend her. I was only offering her a way to deal with a fucked up situation. We talked for a few quick minutes. I explained how I would be forced to harm her family if, once free, she tried to turn me in to the authorities. Finally, we both decided that we would have to put on a fake show for Curtis to see, or he'll get suspicious of something. I explained to her my views and feeling towards white women, so she didn't have to worry about me trying to have sex with her, period. I'd never fucked a white woman, and I never will. We heard the garage door open, then close, followed by Curtis talking shit while putting the beer in the refrigerator. I could see her demeanor drastically change. She was absolutely terrified of Curtis. I hugged her close to me for assurance and whispered in her ear, "Are you ready for some acting?" She nodded her head yes. I quickly stood up and pulled down my sweatpants and boxers. Penny's eyes brightened when she saw me fully naked. I didn't like her seductive stare, but it was acting. right? She laid on her back and spread her legs. It felt weird climbing on top of a naked woman that I didn't intend on fucking. I let my flaccid Jimmy lay right on the bed in front of her entrance. As long as he remained soft, he would stay right where he needs to be, and we should be able to look the part. I could feel Penny moving a little more than I had anticipated, causing my Jimmy to rub against her moist entrance. I tried to shift into a better position to prevent any further contact, but before I could reposition, Curtis popped his head down the stairs. We both looked at him as if surprised.
Damn, nigga, you aren't finished yet.
He said in his usual angry tone.
All right, nigga, 10 more minutes with my woman, or else you got to kick me down some paper.
He laughed all the way up the stairs. As soon as I heard the door close, I moved to get up. Penny held me in place.
Wait. I need to do this. I don't know why, but I do.
She reached for me again, her voice taking on a different tone altogether.
Please. I need this. I don't know why, but I do.
Her hand found me before I could pull away, her touch igniting something I couldn't control. My mind screamed to stop, but my body wouldn't obey. It was like being trapped in another dream, watching myself from outside as we came together. I tried to fight it, tried to remember all my reasons for hating this, but something stronger than hate was taking over. Then the voice, clear as a bell.
It's okay, don't fight it. Just let it happen.
The same voice from my dreams, the one that had ordered me to protect her. Now it was telling me to surrender to this moment that went against everything I believed in. My body moved on its own, like a puppet controlled by invisible strings. I wanted to blame it on lust, on basic human weakness, but this was different. This feeling of being controlled, of watching myself act against my own will. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced. Pure paralysis, like being drugged but fully conscious. With my mind rebelling and my body betraying me, I closed my eyes and let whatever force this was take control. The voice had never led me wrong in my dreams. Maybe this too was part of some plan I couldn't understand.